G'day everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude, where we are going to be checking out Batman Brave and the Bold Issue 1 by Tom King, Ed Brisson, Christopher Cantwell and Dan Mora, along with a ton of talented artists. Now I know what you're thinking, oh Matt, this is just another Batman anthology book, whatever, who cares? And I would have agreed with you just on the title alone and the cover, but reading the book has revealed that it's barely about Batman at all, and it's more a DC Universe anthology, and stories that do contain Batman, but also a couple of stories that don't. Tom King and Mitch Gerads headline the book with a Batman story, of course, which depicts a very tension-filled night in Gotham involving a missing little girl, Precious Diamond, and the Joker, who in a really neat bit of visual storytelling from Gerads gets all of his dialogue done in those silent movie-like dialogue screens, which somehow makes him more terrifying, like he's some otherworldly like horror silently speaking to this little girl, like you can't hear his voice but she knows what he's saying. It's so creepy. This is part 1 in a story and does a great job setting up 3 seemingly unrelated mysteries, but knowing King and his love for detective serials and neo-noir stuff, they will definitely be intricately woven together in some way, and I'm pretty interested to see how it does. Ed Brisson reboots Stormwatch of all things here in this book with a pretty wild team comprised of Director Bones, fresh from the Infinite Frontier, Phantom One, a character who apparently trained under Ghostmaker, not someone who I am very familiar with since I guess he's in the Batman Inc. book, Ravager, Deathstroke's daughter fresh from the Shadow War, Shadow, the Master Archer, Flint, a new character introduced in those recent Wildcats and Wildstorm books, Winter, the new weatherman of Stormwatch, Dr. Zima, a cool looking gooey monster face guy who's like the team's science officer, Core, another new Wildstorm character who's very similar to Apollo, and probably the most out of left field team member, Sean Mahoney, Peacekeeper 1, the insane leader of the Magistrates, the group who are absolutely everywhere in the Batman and Detective Comics books after Future State. Ed spares no time getting right into it, quickly introducing all of these characters and establishing this is the new Stormwatch and it's being secretly run by the DEO, off the books of course. The team go on their first mission, which is to stop a faction of Black Hole called the Singularity from breaking out Dr. William Husk, one of their leaders, so they can get on with some sort of big mission they've been planning for a couple of years now. Since this is Stormwatch, there is an edge to the team and they have to bring in Husk dead or alive, they just need his brain basically. And this isn't the Justice League or the Titans, so the team is being made up of killers and some pretty bad people, so Ed doesn't shy away from just having them kill their way through Black Hole, having them deal with a time sphere that ages everything that it touches in some very gruesome detail where it just like ages these prisoners into like dust. It was pretty brutal. The team all get a chance to shine, and there's even some hints that this might even be connected to the stuff Amanda Waller has been up to recently, so I'm very excited to see what's next for the cool new iteration of Stormwatch, especially given how accessible it is compared to past Stormwatch teams. Many of the new members have prior history within the DCU, and surely people know who Ravager is, or who Shadow is, or even Peacekeeper 1, and people will recognize these people, and hopefully that will put more eyes on this book and story. Christopher Cantwell jumps on over from Iron Man and Marvel to deliver an insanely cool Superman story, setting up an interesting premise in Clark struggling to find an interesting byline for the Daily Planet, always finding that unintentionally the story, in this case a high-tech bank robbery, stops being about the high-tech bank robbery the minute Superman steps into the scene and becomes yet another Superman story, which doesn't sell papers as much as it used to and is something Clark isn't very comfortable with since he doesn't like talking about himself or writing about himself, since that's not why he became Superman. He didn't become Superman for the fame. Clark does soon get the story he wants when he is sent an old-timey decoder ring from an old serial he would watch as a child called The Order of the Black Lamp, which sends the man on a globe-trotting journey to discover what the ring and the note asking for help that came with it lead to. Cantwell drops Superman into this kind of neo-noir adventure serial like it's nothing and makes it work, capturing Clark's childlike sense of adventure along with the reporter in him that wants to run down the leads and get to the bottom of a story. It's presented thoroughly well and really hooks you in for that part 2 coming in the next issue. The final story of the issue is both written and drawn by Dan Mora, who right off the bat just tells you, okay, this is an alternate universe future Batman story and this Batman is basically Kamen Rider. More Mora chooses to tell the story completely in black and white, really pulling from manga and Sentai series to make an action-packed outing for this future Batman as he battles a Royal Flush Gang and a hologram Joker and rescues the young Dick and Jason. These are the type of wild swings with heroes and settings that I really like, especially when you get someone like Dan Mora who just fills the story with interesting tidbits and pieces of a larger world, like a holographic robot Joker and his henchmen, Batman's cool Bat AI sidekick thing, and of course, a cool looking Sentai transformation. I really want to know more about this and how this Batman became Batman, and how this Joker became Joker, since it's all so different, yet it's all very familiar things you would recognize. Batman, the Brave and the Bold issue 1 was a surprisingly awesome book. From what I thought would be just another run-of-the-mill set of anthology stories all centered around Batman and his family, ended up being more about the DCU as a whole, delivering fantastic tension, thrilling adventure, some legitimate surprises, and most importantly of all, it had bona fide creativity within these characters and settings. This book is definitely worth checking out, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.